The Trailblazers win 2 in Memphis, look good in a loss at Minnesota to complete a strong weekend before coming home to play 6. Welcome to the Blazer Focus Podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and Oregon Live, and I'm joined as always by Craig Birnbach. And Craig, I'm going to set you up for this right now. The Blazers have not played good basketball for pretty much the entire season, but this past weekend, despite having a lot of injuries, they pulled off 2 wins at Memphis. Of course, Memphis was missing even more players than the Blazers, but still, and then they played a very good game at Minnesota, all things considered, because Minnesota was way better, but the Blazers hung in there, losing 119-114. So what say you about this weekend? Is this something positive to build upon?
So I'll start with the Minnesota games. They were hard to watch.
Grizzlies.
The Memphis games. Hard to watch because it was bad basketball too. Like, it was just like, that's not what's supposed to happen at the NBA, level. Like, let me just say this, in that second game, I was like, they're going to win because Memphis is doing this with mirrors. And if they get any pressure on any of these guys, half of these guys were DMPs or not on the roster. Like, they don't have any way to score. Like, I don't know how Memphis scored any baskets. Like, guys who were shooting and scoring, I'm like, who that? And they're like, oh, he's been averaging 18 points in the last 5 games. Before that, he played a total of 6 minutes. You're like, okay, he's not good. He's not going to be okay. So a nice win. They cared. And if you're going to play these games, you might as well win them. Some would say it's going to hurt you. You might as well lose them. Obviously, Memphis wants to lose them now. I mean, they're not trying to win. But, I'm not going to put the Blazers down for losing. Here's the thing about the Minnesota game. The best player decided it wasn't even important enough to be on the court when the game started. Anthony Edwards was not in the starting lineup. He said time got away from him. He didn't realize the game was starting. And I'm just saying, like, I don't think that happens when they're playing OKC. Like, I'm just going to say, I don't think Minnesota, these games, when you're the Blazers, like, teams, top-level teams are not trying their best in a way. They're just trying to get through it. And he was bad. He had 13. He didn't hit a 3 until, like, the fourth quarter. But, yeah, I mean, they kept fighting. They kept going. Simons, which I know we're going to talk about, you can't play much better than that. Yeah, you really can't. They're not going to be able to beat Minnesota if Minnesota doesn't play atrociously because the talent level is too high. So they played hard throughout. That's one thing that I think you can judge Chauncey on, is that even it's not every game, but that effort, he doesn't let them quit. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't let them give effortless games. And when they do it, he still says something, So that part I give him. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, you go 2-1 and you're the Blazers, you got to be like, that's good. That's a good 3-game stretch.
Bottom line for me is this. This team lost 9 in a row. They go to Memphis, the 2 most injury-riddled teams in the league, and I'm thinking just get a split, given the fact that you're going in there banged up. You're on the road, though, against a team that's banged up. Just get a split. And they dominate the first game. Then the second game, they lose Grant. They fall behind. They come back. They win. They force it into overtime. And they win there 107-100. And I just felt good for the guys. Like, I've seen them so many times in the locker room. And they're not necessarily distraught after losses because I think they know the deal. But at the same time, they're happy when they win. It just feels good to win. So I thought it was pretty cool that they were able to get the 2 there, because then you go to Minnesota, right? And then you're going to come home for, Oklahoma City. So to get 2 wins, then go to Minnesota, and then you show well there, right? I thought they were going to get trounced because Grant was now out, Aiden's still out, and then Matisse is out, and then Kamara's out. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get splattered. But nope, they hung in there. They battled. They were down 15 in the fourth, and they came back, got to 6. Made it interesting at least. Anfernee Simons had a great game, 34 points and a career-high 14 assists. And they just played good basketball, relatively good basketball. And they did so without a lot of players. But then again, they're going against a team that won 51 games last year and lost most of their lineup, right?
But they're not in the same, world. Like, Memphis is like, we got this. We got this. We're going to win this one.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Memphis has missed 360, 70 or something like that games this season due to injury. And the Blazers are like 230. And the Blazers are second. Memphis obviously is first, right? So, yeah, there's no comparison there. Okay, let's shift to Simons. We already mentioned his amazing game, 34-14, and then lost to Minnesota. That came after he went 37-7 against the Grizzlies. However, prior to that, they won by a lot, so it probably didn't matter. But he only had 7 points on 3 of 9 shooting, 1 of 5. 1 of 4 on threes. He did have 8 assists, though. My big thing with Anfernee right now, you know I love me some Anfernee, is I want to see him go on a run before he gets shut down where he doesn't have these down games. So, the 7 points, 5 or 8 assists, again, they won by 30, so say what you want about that. Before that, though, 26 points on 10 of 26 shooting.
And he did not play well in that game.
Right. Before that, 10 points on 4 of 21. Then he had a good game, 21 points on 8 of 15. And then back to 12 on 4 of 15. And so when you look at his stretch of games here, we're talking going back 8 games, He's averaging 20 points, 6.5 assists. Not great, but shooting 37.7%. That's disappointing. 34.8 on threes, which isn't awful. But he's just had such a weird season with the thumb and then, the illnesses and just trying to get his way back. And, he's had amazing games, like the 40 points, the 10 assists against San Antonio, I believe it was. And he had a stretch of 4 straight 24-plus games where he shot really well during that stretch. But then something always happens where he always has a hiccup or something. And so, there's 6 weeks left in the season. I imagine they're going to shut him down probably the last 2 or 3. So I'd like to see him just go on a nice run of quality performances just to sort of get his get his stature back up. Because I think that this season has been a disappointment. Not necessarily all his fault again, but just it was supposed to be the year without Dame where he was supposed to blow up. And man, when he came back from the thumb, he put up some numbers. And then, of course, some other things went down. So that's all I'm hoping for with him.
Yeah, and what worries me is the shooting percentage. 3% the first year he, at one point now he didn't play. He wasn't a starter, but his first year as a real starter, when he started 30 games out of 57 and played 30 minutes, he shot 41%. He's shooting 38%, and he's only shooting 42.7 overall. You'll get your points if you shoot enough times, but I don't know. Like 2 percentage points doesn't seem like a lot, but it kind of is in the NBA, over time. He's a 92% free throw shooter. We know he can shoot. Now, I would argue that the guy can't get shots that aren't ridiculously difficult right now. So how do you evaluate this stretch? And that's where I am with him, is that I don't think when he has to be the guy with the ball in his hands all the time, and you see what they do. They blitz. Why wouldn't you? And he's still like, it's the Damian Lillard thing that I used to say, like, yeah, I know I got 2 guys on me, but I'm pretty sure I can shoot it better than Kamara, so I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and you can't blame him. And guess what? His percentage is still higher than most guys on the team from 3. So I think it's hard to evaluate because on a team that isn't where this team is right now, which is basically he's playing with either no legitimate NBA starters at times or the most 2. How can you evaluate what he's going to be? And the part that's scary to me about this continues to be, well, you got Scoot. So what is our plan? Like, what is our plan? Is he a 2? Like, is that legitimately what you're going to try to do? Because I think on a lot of teams, he would fit better on a team that has another ball handler. And I'm about to name the best in the world at it, right? LeBron at the the forward who can handle, Green who can handle. But there are plenty of teams now in the NBA that have big guys who can handle or other guys so you can have smaller guys. I mean, Dallas's point guard is 6'8". Jalen Brunson didn't really play point guard when with Luka on the team, right? So there's places for that. But the Blazers don't have that. So he has to be the main ball handler. And the criticism that he gets as not being a top flight ball handler at the point guard position is legit. It's legit. So if you're going to ask him to do something that he's now not 20 and years old anymore, he's been in the league 5 years. Like, he's not going to be one of the better ball handlers in the league. Like, that's just not going to happen. So as a team, you got to figure out a way to make that work. Now, I don't think it works with another small guard who can't shoot at all, right? So that's where I am with him, is that he's just got to survive this in a way. And the Blazers got to decide what they want to do with him, because it's not his fault that he's shooting less when there's times when he can't get a good shot because the other teams are like, nah, nah, I'm not going to let you beat us because we're not dumb. We've seen a lot of tape, and you by far are the best offensive player on this team. And there's nobody coming off the bench who's better either. So we're just not going to – we're going to put two on you at all times and make you dribble through us, which is where he struggles.
All right, one area that could definitely help Simons now and in the future would be improving the forward position. And we're seeing an interesting time here where we're getting a lot of minutes for a lot of forwards, partly because they're starting to play guys more and also because of injuries. So I'm going to run through sort of what these guys have been doing lately, and then we can talk about them. The first one is your guy. I know you like Kamara. He did not play Monday against Minnesota, but before that he had 15 points, 7 rebounds in the win at Memphis. Prior to that, though, only 4 points, but still 7 rebounds. Then he had a 17-point game in the Miami loss with 10 rebounds. Played really well in that game. But again, he's been clearly up and down. He was starting, but not playing well on offense, decently on defense. Then he lost that starting job for a minute, worked his way back, is starting again. He's a guy to me that I get why people are excited, because he presents physically some things that are interesting with his height and size, and he's got defensive mentality. The offense has to come around. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be in the NBA for a long time. I just don't know exactly how much impact he's going to have in winning yet, unless he can get his offense, up to par. Then Chris Murray has been playing a lot more lately. He's been starting, actually. Big game against Minnesota on Monday, 14 points, matching his career high, 6 of 11. Didn't shoot well from 3, though. 5 rebounds. The game before that, though, 1 for 6, 2 points. And the game before that, he set his career high, 15 points with a nice game. And then prior to that, you see 0 points, you see 6, you see 9, you see 6, you see 0. That was in 3 minutes, though. You see 3. So, again, I'm not saying he should be 17 points a game across the board. He's battling through growing pains, obviously. The big thing is for him is that he has to be able to shoot the ball. Like, that's going to be his best weapon, is if he could knock down the open 3. And over his last 7 games, he's shooting 14.8%. So he's got to fix that, obviously. Ryan Rupert has been seeing some time the last few games. I know fans have been calling for him to get more time. 13 points, 6 rebounds, shot 5 for 7 against Minnesota, 3 for 3 on threes. Prior to that, 0 points, 6 and 5, and then 5 points. Those are against Memphis. Sorry, he didn't play very much. 13 minutes total. Prior to that, was inactive. Did not play for a long time. And that's pretty much been that way the entire season. But in that one game against Minnesota, he definitely flashed a nice night. The guy who's the most perplexing guy to me is Jabari Walker still, because he became a starter in place of Kamara, and they moved Grant to the 3, and they played really well with those two, and then Ayton, and then some combination of the backcourt, whoever was healthy. Usually Brogdon was in there, and they looked pretty good. But then he kind of fell off a little bit, lost the starting job back to Kamara. But the games at Memphis, he was money. 19 and 10, 18 and 12 the second night. Hit some big shots, had the big free throws that sent the second game into overtime. And then at Minnesota, 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 on threes, 5 points, 8 rebounds. Again, all these guys are going to be inconsistent. 4 points, 8 rebounds. They're all going to be inconsistent, but for me, these last 6 weeks, I'm super interested in seeing how these guys develop, because with multiple draft picks coming in the summer and them likely to draft forwards, I would think that would be your top priority. Do not add a lottery guard, please. There's going to be a lot of competition for roster spots next year with all these young forwards on the team, and you can't keep too many guys, and some of them you might use as trade chips. We'll see, but I don't know. What do you think about this crew? I know you like Kamara a lot.
So I envision that there is a future possible where Kamara could be a 3-and-D guy and be your worst starter. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and his shot looks good. I mean, he shoots over 70% from the free throw line. He shoots, he's not consistent enough from three, but when it looks like, and I'm no shooting expert, but we can all look at certain shots and be like, oh no, oh no, that is not going to be a consistent 3-point shooter in the NBA. I'm sorry. But Kamara doesn't look that way. And I will also say all lefties look, they mostly look better. But Murray's a lefty, and his three does not look better. So, and Kamara's just at times just so disruptive. So I feel Kamara and Walker. I think Walker's a player in the NBA. I think he's a rotation player. I think he's at the back end toward the 10, not toward the 7, like in a perfect world. But he doesn't embarrass you. He understands the game. He plays hard. Here's the thing. Against Minnesota, they're really good and they're really big. And he's going to struggle. Like there are times he's going against Towns. He can't guard Towns, and he can't score on Towns. So he ends up trying to shoot threes, which is not his game, because you know what? If he goes inside, Towns is like, I'm a lot taller than you, and this is going to be a very difficult shot for you. So I would suggest you back up. But what you're asking from Walker in a perfect world is 12 minutes. You know what I mean? Like 12 minutes, go in there, play D, rebound, get us through until we get our better forwards back on. But they don't have that. The other guy, I haven't seen anything from Murray that showed me like, oh, I know that, there's plays that he makes here and there. But he's also, he's not 20. Like, Kamara's 23. Like, they got to go. You know what I mean? Like, there's not tons of time. And I have no idea, Rupert. I'm not going to judge that. I mean, people are really high on him. He looks small when he's out there. He's obviously he's thin. His shot looked good against Minnesota because he made him, right? And he's got long arms and can go to the hole now, but he's not there yet. And he's not going to develop it in the NBA. The whole goal was for him to play in the remix and get really consistent minutes. So no, I'm still holding on hope for Kamara. I really like him, how hard he plays. And he dipped. He really dipped. But then he came back, like he's shown that he's sitting there learning. And he's not afraid. He's in the ref's face. He's like, that's not a foul. And he's right sometimes. Sometimes, he's not getting the credit for the kind of defender he is because they don't know who he is. And it all depends. Like pre-All-Star game, those are all fouls. Post-All-Star game, they're not fouls now. But I don't see Walker as a starter, ever. I feel he's going to bounce around the league too. I think he's that kind of guy that everyone wants him on their team if they have the spot for him, but they don't need, but he's not, if he has to play more than 20 minutes a game, your team's probably not great.
Right, so aside from the forwards, we have a young center that we're watching as well, Duop Reith. Now, he just got the standard contract, so he's got some money in his pocket. That's good to see. He's grinded his way through several overseas leagues to earn his way into the NBA at 27. And the last few games, man, he has been balling since Ayton went out against Miami. 18.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2 block shots, shooting 59% and 44.4% on three. Had a great game against the Timberwolves with 26 points on 10 of 14 shooting. Now, they're only looking at him as being the number 3 center, because as of right now, you're going into next season with Ayton and Williams, unless there's a trade, and then you got Reith as your pick and pop difference in style player than the other two, and he's demonstrating that he can get that done. And I think the shooting is going to continue to improve. I mean, not over 44%. He's in a hot stretch right now, but he's going to become more comfortable and become better instinctually within the offense, and then I think that's going to lead to an uptick in his 3-point accuracy and make him a guy that you guys stick out there and get him some minutes, even if he's a third center, because he can stretch the floor for you, and that's going to be impactful, especially in certain matchups. So I love what he did these last 3 days. I want to see him play a lot, and we're going to. And so when Ayton's out for me, I kind of look forward to seeing what the kid's going to do. Were you impressed?
You shoot 60%. And 44% from three, and you're a big? Yes, please. I will take that. I mean, and it's different. Like shooting 44% when you're a big, like he doesn't take contested shots, not because they don't guard, but because he's a big and you can get those. I mean, we know big guys can get threes because it's just the nature of how the league is. Who's guarding you can't get out there all the time. I mean, if you're going to take away right now the best part, like number one best thing about the Blazers season right now is that man right there. His story is amazing. That fact that he played well enough to get signed, and that he is on a stretch of games shooting 60 and 40, plus. I mean, that's what you hang your hat on as far as like, there hasn't been a lot of, things in the plus category this season. That is a plus.
All right. So next up, we have the tweener, Dalano Blanton, acquired from Boston for a second-round pick. He didn't play all that much in Boston, but in Portland, he's getting all the minutes he could ever ask for, and he's been producing. 18 points, 7 rebounds, didn't shoot great against Minnesota, 7 of 20, 1 of 6 on threes. Yeah, not good, but still 18.7 rebounds. But it was that second game at Memphis when he had 8 points in the overtime.
He took over.
Exactly. He led them to that win in overtime after Simons got him there. And Chauncey Billups said, hey, I went to him to give us someone who can attack the rim and score because they were putting so much pressure on Anfernee. And he can do that at his size. His shooting is his thing. Like, if he could shoot, he could be a starter because he can do a lot of other things. But I liked what he did and what he's been doing these last 8 or 10 games. He's averaging 11 points, almost 4 rebounds, a couple assists, shooting 43%, only 30% on threes. I get that. But I like his versatility. I like the fact that he just gets size. I just want to see more size on this team. Like, that's just been my thing for a long time, especially someone who can play the guard position and, of course, play forward with his size. So, I'm intrigued. Do I think he's going to be here next year? I don't know, but I'm at least intrigued. What do you think?
I mean, I'm with you. Like, there's a reason why they gave him away. They gave him away. They didn't just not play him. They're like, oh, we got too many. Who'll take him? Like, they needed to get someone off the roster, and they chose him. All I was trying to say is I've enjoyed it. He goes hard to the rim and he can finish, and he's 6'8". When he shoots threes, you're like, that's probably not going to go in. And that's a difference. Look, if you're going to play hard, play well, and he's played a few good games. There's a reason why he was available. There's a reason why he's in the NBA though. And that's because he's talented. Do I think there's a future on this team? Like, well, it depends on how long they're going to need to fill spots. He plays the guard position at 6'8". So that's where the Blazers are kind of good at the guard position. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed watching it. He can finish, and he's not afraid to go, and he gets fouled because he's not afraid to go. And if you're gonna be 6'8" and you're not gonna be a great shooter, and they're gonna give you the ball because they need you to play point guard or guard, go to the hole, get fouled, score, win. That's what he did. So I cheer it, and I go half full on him. And if he's on the team next year, I'll be surprised.
And you would probably have reason to be surprised, right? This team has cycled through a lot of young players the last couple of years under Cronin. They bring these guys in, they play them a lot, and then they move them along. But he only makes a couple $1 million a year, and he just gives you versatility. And so if he's your third string, whatever, and he could be your third string at 3 spots, then to me, you keep a versatile guy like that because you're going to have a third string somebody. And if it's this guy, are you really going to do better? I don't know. I mean, if you get a rookie who comes in as your third guy for a while, fine. Then you have maybe better hope for the future. But I don't know. I just think he's someone that maybe you think, he could stick around. We'll see.
I mean, sure. But my hope would be, no, like, let's go get something else, right? Like, I mean, sure, $2 million for a guy who's playing in the NBA is nothing. And if he keeps showing stuff, again, you don't need a point guard. Like, that is not what you need. But you do need guys on the end of the bench. So, no, he's not terrible to have. And fine. And what kind of teammate is he? How's he helping? Those are the things that you're hopeful. Or, heck, in 20 games, maybe we're like, holy cow, he's kept this up. And now he's shooting 36% from three. And we're shocked. And we're like, of course they're going to pay $2.2 million for him. And eventually someone's going to give you a first-round draft pick for him, and life is going to be grand.
Okay, Craig, let's not get too carried away. All right, that's enough for this episode. We'll be back next week after the Blazers have played most of their homestand. We'll see how they do with some good teams coming into Portland. Anyway, please click that subscribe button and give us a positive rating. We'd appreciate it, and we'll catch you later.